You are watching Tech Confessions, created by Amy Lewis and brought to you by VMware.
So welcome, James.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's fun to be on a couch.
Have you ever been interviewed on a couch?
I've never been interviewed on a couch.
Been on main stages? Maybe gotten a little bit of announcement this week.
Yeah, I've been on main stages. I've definitely done that.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of announcement this week.
Little thing.
3 little companies called Pivotal-VMware-Google came together.
I mean, I think I've heard of those.
Yeah, on this little trend called containers. So it's kind of just a little thing we're working on.
Well, it might be too easy for your answer then, because I've been asking people, what is your software-defined moment? When did you kind of jump from thinking solely about hardware into that software-defined moment, leading up to that kind of main stage?
I mean, I'm going to tell you a long story.
Okay, and you're comfortable.
I'm on a couch, and you asked me a question, and I actually, I spent 8 years of my life at Sun Microsystems, and all we built was basically infrastructure, which was hardware and operating systems, also Java, of course, but mostly those things. And in 2008, it turned out that you had to start selling at hyperscale to win anywhere. And I was on the team trying to figure out how to engineer the hardware to be valuable at hyperscale. And I was working with Facebook, and all they kept saying to me was, James, take that chip off the hardware. And so every discussion was I actually want less. I just want the basic core Intel components and networking and stop trying to add any value. And I'm not that smart. But a little light went off in my head, and it said, you need to get into the software that makes all of this now commodity computing valuable to large enterprises. And that's how I kind of found the Paul Maritz project at VMware Cloud Foundry. And that's why to this day I have such a big passion about really the value of all this distributed hardware must be described in a coherent set of software, because we're in a transition from single system applications over a 10-year period to hundreds of system applications. And that's actually why I love the space. So that's a real answer. Sorry if that.
No,
I literally
great.
had I need to do something new with my life moment.
The light bulb actually appeared on your head.
Well, when you're negotiating to take one extra quarter out of a server by taking a chip off of Facebook, you think, I see a dark end of this tunnel.
This isn't going the way I thought.
This is not going well.
So I know you're on planes all the time, talking to customers all over the world.
I've been around.
Yeah. What are some more of the things that you're hearing? Again, that sort of, where are those other light bulbs going off? Where have you seen other people have that moment?
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago, Josh McKenty, who I believe you met, and I got on a stage before it was really kind of a big deal and said cloud native enterprise was going to happen. And we'd see enough early signals that this would happen. And we actually did that in May of 2015. And, or I think 2015, might have been 2014, I think it was May of 2015. And then 3 months later, actually, Google announced their Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And all of these things have been happening that really enterprises are realizing that if they don't coherently think about their processes, their application design, their software-defined infrastructure, their organizations in a new way, they'll fall behind. And the clock speed of all these enterprises has gone up. And so everyone you talk to, Michael Dell always says, Pivotal Cloud Foundry is about speed, and he's dead on, right? I mean, he has such a good business acumen, and I think as soon as he saw the PCF paradigm, he's like, that's about speed. And that's what's so different about software-defined these days, is that it used to be in a waterfall process, you would have 9 months to go stand up your infrastructure, to configure your network, to deploy your application. And now developers want to deploy applications daily or weekly, and the slowest enterprises I'm seeing now are monthly.
Wow.
And so that's really what's changed, is that it's not so much that PCF and software-defined and all these things are just better versions of the old way. They're actually a bold new bet on going fast and efficient as the prime operating reason for IT. So that's what's really exciting is seeing what used to be traditional enterprises saying, no, we want to do continuous delivery. We want to do CI/CD. We want to do chaos testing before we go to production. And that's given us the opportunity to get on stage and announce things like PKS, and along with PCF, and people were like excited. Like every meeting I've had has been like, yes.
Well, take us behind the acronym. Get us deeper in. What is this?
What does it mean, Amy?
What is
No, I'm going to
PKS?
test you. What does PKS
geez.
stand for?
Well, you don't even want to know. I Googled it and I was like, wait a minute. It's a TLA. It's a
Why
three-letter
did they spell container with a K?
I actually thought that. Well, I mean, it can't be PCS and it can't be, other three-letter words or three-letter acronyms around that are, diseases. So that's bad. You want to play startup or disease. It's a great game.
That's true. Never be the same Google as a disease. That's bad lead gen. PKS, of course, is the K, and Pivotal Container Service comes from Kubernetes. So it's an homage to the ingredient.
Perfect. Not because we can't spell.
No, we actually can spell.
Great, thanks.
But we like to make references.
Perfect.
So, kind of Kubernetes is the one thing. I did some interviews for PKS, and I said, look, no one is arguing with Kubernetes as the container standard for container orchestration now. Like over the last 2 years, there were a lot of people that kind of had a toe in the water, maybe a startup, but the support behind Kubernetes is kind of undeniable at this point. And so then the question is, like, how do you actually stand up this distributed software cluster in an enterprise? And that turns out to be a lot about networking and cluster management, which are two things that Pivotal has done really well, and big cluster management of our cloud native platform, as well as that VMware has done exceptionally well with like immediate microsegmentation on demand, CNI plugins, NSXT, et cetera. So that's a really exciting thing, which is people want to consume Kubernetes, but without the support of the PKS cluster management, without the networking support from NSX, it's really hard. So we're really excited to kind of get it out there. Anyway, I'm rambling on about it.
No, it's great. I mean, that's
you can
that's
ask
what we're here.
questions as I go.
As you go along.
Yeah. Interrupt me, please.
Well, one thing that always jumps to my mind is, I know you talk to a lot of developers, and I feel like that is sort of the last frontier for so many people who are somewhere else on their journey, or they're very infrastructure based, or they feel like the developers are this group out in the wild, with
So
beards and
why
t-shirts
is
and
it
hoodies.
that infrastructure didn't used to talk to developers?
Yeah.
Like infrastructure's always run apps, right?
That's what's interesting. Why is this
Like
become a thing?
developers didn't just suddenly grow.
No, I think they sprouted
It
from
didn't
trees.
rain one day and
No,
developers
no.
just fell from the sky.
I think in Oregon, maybe.
I think it's because in the old world of waterfall, everything was a handoff. And so development would happen, and they'd hand it to another person who would take it to operations, who would deploy it on infrastructure. And so this was a stepwise process with a lot of isolation between the teams.
Got it.
I
so
think
it
that's
really
why.
was like tribes that were so different from each other.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, over
It
there.
was like, hey, I put the steering wheel in the car. I don't know Irma, who puts on the tires. I've
Right.
never met her.
right.
I just put the steering wheel on, and then the next car comes by.
Yeah.
And what's happened with continuous delivery and continuous integration and DevOps and all these movements is that now you're trying to, cycle these applications every week. Like, teams have to work in concert. The clock speed is too fast. And that's where, Pat came out with developer-ready infrastructure as a concept, which I think is just brilliant, that, VMware is now an infrastructure that's ready for developers to continuously deliver their code. And I think the reason that I'm spending so much time talking to developers now is what the infrastructure looks like needs to comport to their new set of practices.
Very cool.
Does that make sense?
It does.
It's like they were always important, but they used to be an assembly line.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
now it's like a rugby scrum.
Yeah.
So we're all in there together.
I love it. Well, the next time you have your light bulb moment, we hope you'll come back on the show.
Awesome. Good to be here.
Thank you, James. And when you're ready to make your tech confession, join us on TechConfessionsTheShow.com.